The draft is officially over, obviously. This is the time where actually teams start re-looking at free agency. So that's what we're going to do. What is up, Finn fans? Yes, draft is over. Now you look at what you possibly didn't get, and you try to address that with the rest of the free agency. So we're going to look at that. Essentially, we're going to be looking at potential free agents that the Dolphins could bring in or might be thinking about bringing in. And then I'm going to answer one of you guys' comments of the day, which is very intriguing. I don't know if a lot of people knew the answer essentially to the comment that he had. Let's jump right into this. If you did not know, Tyrann Mathieu signed with the New Orleans Saints. I think it was 3 years, $33 million. I don't remember what the guarantee is. That was one of the players that a lot of the Dolphin fans, and I think he did come in for or talked to the Dolphins. But also there was this, and I will pop up the tweet from Josh Moser. He said, Drew Rosenhaus tells me he had a discussion with the Dolphins regarding both Carlos Dunlap and Akeem Hicks. Dolphins have roughly $20 million in cap space for 2022. More tonight, yada, yada. So they haven't come in for an interview. They haven't come in for a meeting. But there's that, right? So when I saw that, I was like, let me talk about potential free agents that the Dolphins might be targeting now that the draft is over. They did hit on a linebacker. They did not necessarily hit on a center. I know that they brought in They brought in Ty Clary. Sorry, my brain didn't want to work there. But then there's also the potential of Kalen Deesh going to move in at center because he does have the smaller arms. He is a monster of a man at 6'7", 301 pounds. But he does have the smaller arms. There is the potential of Liam Eichenberg moving to center. Again, he's did very well in college, but again, he has the smaller arms. So that got me thinking, they addressed the linebacker situation. What about the other ones? So obviously I'll talk about Carlos Dunlap and Akeem Hicks real quick. So Carlos Dunlap, he's a 12-year vet, defensive end, 10.5 years with Cincinnati, 1.5 years with Seattle, 2-time Pro Bowler. He had 13.5 sacks in 2015, 96 sacks total in his career. And then you have Akeem Hicks. He's a defensive end / defensive tackle, 10 years in the league, 3.5 with New Orleans, half a year with New England, and 6 years with Chicago. Only 1 Pro Bowl. His most sacked year was in 2017, 8.5 sacks, 4.5 sacks on the year. Of the two, I'd probably be more inclined to bring in Akeem Hicks to be in that rotation, especially help with the run game on that defensive tackle position. So there's that. Then we also have, we did bring in Melvin Ingram. And we did meet with Melvin Ingram, and he also has multiple, I think last year he worked out with Xavier Howard and stuff. He's a possibility that I like more because of the fact that he still was super productive when he left the Steelers and went to the Chiefs last year. Still had crazy sack to snap numbers. And I think, again, if you look at a lot of the players the Dolphins brought in, or are rumored to, you have Carlos Dunlap, defensive end, Akeem Hicks, defensive end / DT, Melvin Ingram, defensive end, Reuben Foster, middle inside linebacker. Defense. And I think what they're thinking is more consistent pass rush. Now, I don't remember where we ranked. At some point, we led the league in sacks. I think when we were going into a Tennessee game, we were leading the league in sacks, and then Tannehill was the most sacked quarterback. I don't think we ended up getting any pressure on him. And I think that's where the Dolphins could see their problem and their inconsistencies on consistently getting after the quarterback, especially when you face Josh Allen, when you face Lamar Jackson. We're going to be facing Aaron Rodgers. We're going to be facing Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. You need to get that consistent pressure on these quarterbacks. Now, we're not going to have Jalen Phillips be taken off the field consistently like what happened in last year. He had 8.5 sacks. Just imagine if he wasn't consistently taken off the field. So there might be different stunts, different things happening to boost the sack total, but I'm noticing that when it comes to the free agency, it has a lot to do with the defensive line. So, again, Carlos Dunlap, Akeem Hicks, rumored. that the Dolphins are talking to Drew Rosenhaus about that. Drew Rosenhaus seems like he has his own office in Miami. Melvin Ingram, Reuben Foster were already brought in. There's a possibility of bringing them in, but I think with bringing in Tyndall, I don't know if they'll bring in Reuben Foster. Maybe not. Depth. And the last one I'm going to talk about when it comes to free agency and someone that's still out there, and that's J.C. Tretter, right? He is the player's rep for the NFLPA. A lot of people kept asking me, do you think that's the reason why he hasn't signed with anyone? Because it's, you have the owners versus the players or the Players Association. I'm not cutting that out. You can just hear the brain fart coming out of my mouth. I don't think so. Now, J.C. Tretter, when he got cut, a lot of people, and it's just obvious, he got cut to make room for money-wise for Deshaun Watson. It was a surprise when he got cut. Now, he is really good, probably top 10 center in the league. Definitely helped. Injured all of last year. Never practiced, but always played. Always fought through it, always played, whether it was a knee or an ankle injury. He played all year. So there's that, right? There's the thought process of, is it the injuries? Is he sitting back and waiting? And there's also this, right? He's 31. He might have himself at a high value. He might think to himself, or he might put out there that, look, I'm worth, I think Jensen that went back to Tampa got about $13 million a year. I think he's thinking he's worth that. And I think that the Dolphins are like, well, we're not going to pay you that. And I think that he's realizing all the other 31 teams in the NFL are not going to pay him that. So I think what's happening is he's just kind of sitting back, either getting healthy with his knee and ankles issues and injuries. And I also think he needs to come to the realization he's not going to get as much as he thinks he deserves. And I think once that situation comes where he realizes he's a 31-year-old center, has a ton of knee and ankle issues, never practiced all last year, played throughout the whole year with injuries, he needs to realize the type of contract he's going to get. And I think the Dolphins are one of the few teams that are super interested in him, so we'll see how that all pans out. But comment below. Let me know. I know, what do you think about Carlos Dunlap and Akeem Hicks potentially coming to Miami? These are rumors. Again, Drew Rosenhaus said that there was discussion. I would prefer Akeem Hicks over Carlos Dunlap. But comment below. Let me know what you guys think of all that. And I'm going to get to one of you guys' comments of the day. And this comment comes from Brian Gonzalez. And he says, comment of the day, what's the difference between a slot receiver and a wide receiver? There's three different types of receivers, right? There's the split end, the X or the SC. There's the flanker/flanker back, the Z or the FL. And then there's the slot or slot receiver, the Y or the SB. And you'll see that when it's drawn up, right? You get the X, the Z, and the Y. Those are your names if you're a different type of receiver. Now, the split end is going to be the furthest one from the center, right? From the line of scrimmage from the center. And he's mostly towards the sideline. Mostly towards the sideline. That's going to be the split end, the X. It's the definition here is a receiver positioned furthest from the center on their side of the field, which takes their stance on the line of scrimmage. And after I tell you about the different types of receivers, you'll understand more about what I'm about to say. Then there's the flanker, the Z. This guy is primarily your feature back. DeAndre Hopkins for the Dolphins at one point. It was Devontae Parker, Stephon Diggs, all that stuff. And he is a yard or so behind the line of scrimmage, lined up. So you have your X and your Z, and he's a little further. Z is further back, and then you have your slot receiver who essentially is in between your X or your Z, and he's further back too. He's in the backfield a little bit more, and you'll notice that when it comes to a lot of motions and stuff, you'll notice that receivers will take a step back, then they'll take a step forward or stuff like that. They're switching what type of receiver they are, whether the X, the Z, or the Y, depending on where their stance is. So again, split end X, the definition is a receiver positioned further from the center on their side of the field, which takes their stance on the line of scrimmage. Then the flanker, frequently the team's featured receiver. The flanker lines up a yard or so behind the line of scrimmage. Then you have the slot, a receiver lined up in the offensive backfield, horizontally positioned between the offensive tackle and the split end, or between the tight end and the flanker. So again, he's in between those receivers. Your slot is essentially the guy that's in the middle. A lot of times Waddle was the slot, Jarvis Landry was the slot, Wes Welker was the slot, and then but sometimes they might line up outside in the X position or the Z position because of their speed or their type of route running and what the Dolphins want to do. Sometimes you had Mike Gesicki line up at the X or Z position, or they would put him in the Y position. Again, he barely lined up in line with the tackle to his left or right. So that's the difference between a slot and a regular wide receiver. Essentially, like I said, there's 3 different types of wide receivers. There's the X, the Y, and the Z. And your wide receiver is your slot receiver. I hope I explained that. If you want real quick, I'll help you understand. If you could see that. I'll put it a little closer. That's your slot. That's your Y. And these two can alternate depending on the type of formation. I just drew a single back formation real quick. I forgot to put a tight end in there. But anyway, that's the difference between a slot and a regular wide receiver. I hope I answered that question. I hope you understood it. But other than that, guys, that's what I got for you today. Me and Big L are getting together tomorrow, so that video will be out later tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the draft and all that stuff. And like I told you guys, I have so much for you guys, going from ranking the positions in the division, camp battle positions. What else? We have the schedule coming out next Thursday. I'm going to predict the depth chart, cuts, all that stuff. So I got a lot planned for you guys. But on that, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Like usual, stay classy. Fins up.